In today's video, we're going to be looking at a very accurate skinned version of Windows 10 LTSC 2021 that looks identical to Windows 7. Yes, this is Windows 10. It looks exactly like Windows 7. Let's get into it. So like I said, this is an extremely accurate representation of Windows 7, and to a lot of people, you'd most likely be thinking I was using Windows 7 right now. Even the WinVer dialog says that it's Windows 7. However, this is not possible. My computer is far too new to be able to run Windows 7, not to mention to get all the drivers and everything for it. So I'm going to show you how to download this and everything that's inside of it. First things first, to download this and to get this on your computer for yourself, head over to Google Chrome or whatever browser you use and type in Reunion 7. You'll see reunion7.com. It should be the first thing that comes up. And you can see that this looks a lot like the old Microsoft website, which I think is really cool, and it's really accurate as well. So from here you can see a lot of the stuff that they talk about. You can see gadgets and themes, so yes, they do have gadgets. We'll get into that later into the video. You can see got new hardware. Reunion 7 supports new hardware, unlike Windows 7, which is what I was talking about. And I'll show you my specs to my system later, and I actually built this computer almost 2 years ago now, and I'll leave a link to that YouTube video down below as well. And then they also have a Discord for support. So I've never tested this add-on, which is essentially MSN, and maybe for a future video we can test that out. So you can see, introducing Reunion 7. Reunion 7 created by the creators of Reloaded 7 and Classic 7, which were older ones that were based off of, I believe, normal Windows 10, so they had to redo this to make it supported in the future. It's a mod based off of Windows 10 LTSC 2021 that represents Windows 7. Now, I'm just going to show you the life cycle. So yeah, so LTSC 2021 receives support until 2027, but the IoT Enterprise version receives support until January of 2032. Now, I believe that Reunion 7 runs off of the normal version, so you're still going to get a couple more years of support. It's 2025 at the time of recording, so you're going to get, a little bit longer, and I'm sure you can install, I'm sure Reunion 7 is going to eventually come out with something that is based off of IoT in the future. So, just click download now, and then it'll bring you this. So, this is Reunion 7 1.0. It's not out yet. It actually has not been out for an extremely long time, because I installed this beginning of summer on my computer, I think. And then we have Reunion 7, the normal. So, I installed where you're from, North American, Europe, or Oceania. I don't think it really matters, but it's probably just like language packs and stuff like that. You can view the change log from the website here. It's pretty lengthy, but overall it's pretty simple. Here are their credits on the website, so shout out to all these people that made an extremely accurate representation of Windows 7. And you can see it uses pretty much all open source stuff for the most part. And a lot of the stuff that is paid was already paid for, so you don't have to pay for any of the stuff that was already, like Starter's Back. That is a paid program, but you don't have to pay for that when you download this. So anyways, if you download the ISO file, it's like installing a normal copy of Windows. It's extremely simple. Just follow the basic setups. I'll leave a link down below to a video that shows you how to install a typical version of Windows, so you can actually know how to do this, but it's a very simple thing. And then you have their frequently asked questions, their GitHub, and you can probably download a lot of probably developer builds off of there, and then their Discord page. So definitely check them out on Discord. Alright, so let's get to the actual desktop here. So the desktop itself looks pretty freaking accurate. You can tell it has every single theme from Windows 7 built into it. And then when you install it, you'll be left with these two things on your desktop. So you have stuff and a README file. So I'm going to get to both of these in a second, but first I want to show you the different themes that you have on this computer. So these are all custom themes, except for obviously the United States theme, which is right here. These I downloaded from the Microsoft theme website here. Pretty cool. You can still download these. You can put them on a Windows 11 system as well, which I think is pretty cool. But so the normal themes, you have your Windows 7 theme, typical. You also have your architecture theme, and by the way, these all come with the built-in sounds as well, which is pretty cool. Characters theme. This is all pretty basic. You pretty much understand the drill for the majority of this stuff. Nature. Scenes. And my personal favorite, United States. So, they're all in there along with the sounds, and then you already know the basic, classic, and the high contrast themes. I don't want to do that just yet because I have to kind of refresh the whole system, but yeah, you get the point. So let's get into this stuff in README folder. So if you open the stuff folder, this is a redirect link from the C drive Windows 10 to 7 stuff. So there's a lot of stuff here. You can see the user tile folder, so this is everything. This is what's going to appear in your start menu here. Not to mention, the login screen is so accurate. Oh my god, it's insane. So then there's your boot screen stuff. I wouldn't exactly recommend changing this stuff unless you really know what you're doing and you really want to do it. I wouldn't exactly recommend it, but that's up to you. So then you get this README folder, or file rather, and this is a pretty simple one. It's just an FAQ section that kind of gives you details. Then it gives you some notes, some stuff that's maybe buggy about it. Give you some planned features and fixes, and a change log. And then obviously your credits. So everything that we looked at on the website. I don't typically like to install beta builds and stuff like that, but I was very curious with this, and I was very, into it, and I decided to install it, and I'm very happy I did, because I think that this is one of the coolest projects I've ever looked at, and I've ran into little to no issues. I believe the only issue that I ran into was I tried to load up Minecraft with my friends, and it would not work, and I'm talking about the Bedrock version. I don't know why, it just didn't. Recently my Windows 11 partition on a different hard drive, a completely different hard drive, crashed and it broke. I had to reboot the system and all of a sudden it just stopped working. So if you want an excuse to not use Windows 11, I think that's a pretty good excuse right there. I just lost a ton of data for no reason because Windows 11 is an utter piece of shit. Internet Explorer also works, I believe. I thought this was based off of Firefox, but it might be a really, really accurately skinned version of Edge, possibly. Or maybe it's really just Microsoft Internet Explorer, I don't know. Edge is thankfully nowhere to be found on this version. There is nothing on here that is essentially Metro-based, which is obviously very nice, the fact that you don't have to worry about any of that. Now, straight out of the gate, and for some reason, Windows Photo Viewer wasn't enabled, so you can see that I'm using Paint. This is the default program that they've selected. I'm fairly certain you can re-enable it, but I don't know. By the default search, settings is here, however, it typically isn't. I re-enable it again. But to get the settings really quickly, or if you disable it, it's Windows I, and that opens settings. And that's a command that's universal, so every single Windows computer is Windows I, and that opens up settings. And this is how you update the computer, which I wouldn't exactly recommend with these builds because they typically tend to break if you update them. But this is where you would uninstall programs if you don't want to use control panel and stuff like that. Compatibility issue-wise, I've noticed nothing. There's been nothing wrong with the compatibility of all my programs running on this version. May that change in the future? Possibly, but right now, not anything at the moment. You can see the getting started page is pretty accurate as well. You can see it looks pretty convincing. And overall, it's really accurate to Windows 7. You would have had me fooled. You can see the network and sharing center. It looks very accurate. Now, do I know if they're pumping this with malware? No. Have I ran multiple tests to make sure they're not? Yes. This is a completely clean ISO, and I know a lot of people are worried about that, but trust me when I say this, there is nothing on this right now that is going to harm your computer. It's been amazing using this because it's great to just relive the memories of Windows 7 while still having the security of Windows 10. Sorta. Like I said, in 2027, this is going to end support, but nothing's saying that you can't just install this. So I would recommend it. Alright, so to finish off this tutorial, we're gonna implement the gadgets. So I'm gonna show you guys the gadgets on Windows on Reunion 7. And then I'm also gonna show you my system specs just to prove to you that this is not possible to do on real hardware and install Windows 7 on real hardware. So if you right click, you can see there's a gadget panel, and this is the gadget panel that was identical to Windows 7, and you can see it looks identical to the actual Microsoft gadget panel. So these are all of the pre-installed gadgets that came with Windows 7. So you can see there's a ton of them, and they're all, the original ones that came with Windows 7, which I think is pretty cool. And I believe the majority of them work. I'm sure like the network-based ones and like the feed headlines and stuff most likely don't work. So to finish this off, the final thing that I'm going to show you is my system properties dialog. So you can see it says Windows 7 Ultimate. Pretty cool actually. And you can see this is my specs here. It's in this. I have, since it doesn't show my motherboard or anything, I have an Asus Prime D4. Motherboard, which came out only a couple years ago, so it's a fairly new setup, obviously, and it would have obviously not been able to run Windows 7 out of the box. But that's really where I'm going to end the video today, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See ya.